This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found on Gadget Geeks show number 335, recorded on November 30th, 2017. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find news, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the Average Guy.tv here in beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. I think it's 75 today. I don't know what's going on with global warming. I'm all for it because you cannot get 75-degree weather in Nebraska the first day. Well, it's not quite December yet, but it's close. So we're loving the weather. Eventually, we're going to get cold weather, I think. But, of course, we post a show with world-class show notes each week here at theaverageguy.tv. You can also join us live on our mobile app. Best way to listen to the show. If you want to get that in, if you're traveling, just download that from the Apple Store. There we go, the Apple Store or the Play Store. Or go out to homegadgetgeeks.com. Big buttons there. You can just push and get those apps loaded on your phone. Best way to listen to it, and it's mobile. We want to thank LastPass for their sponsorship. By the way, we want to thank Amber out at LastPass 2 weeks ago, Thanksgiving here in the United States, so we took a week off. But 2 weeks ago, Amber from LastPass was on. Great show. We talked a little bit about what's going on at LastPass. And so if you haven't caught that one, go back, catch up on it. Really good show. Thank Amber and LastPass for their sponsorship. Of course, they sponsor the mobile app, and we appreciate what they do. Don't forget, we mentioned this early in the pre-show, but pre-show and post-show now available for those who subscribe to us on Patreon. So for $1, if you want to support the show for as little as $1, jump out there, get it done. And then every week I make the pre and post-show available. That's just a great way to get it. And sometimes there's things we talk about in the post show that we don't cover during the live show. So you might want to get access to that. Head out to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon to get it done. And then don't forget, t-shirts are in full swing, and I'll probably cut those, the current version that we have, I'll probably cut those off maybe at the end of December, and we'll have a new design. So your last chance to pick up a Home Gadget Geeks, the original, the OG, I guess is what all the kids call it these days. The OG shirt for Home Gadget Geeks. If you want to get that, $17.99, super easy to get. You can get it from Amazon. Sorry, Canada. You can't get them in Canada. Sorry. Apologize for that. But to head out to theaverageguy.tv/shirt, and you can pick those up today. Okay. We have Larry and Kat. Kat didn't make it with us. Larry and Kat Kokoszka are back from Ghost Browser. Larry, you mentioned to me, when was the last time? I thought it was earlier, or it was sooner than that, but it's been a while since we've had you on. When was the last time we had you? Do you remember the date?
I don't remember the date, but I do remember that it was episode 301. Because
okay.
You had just had your 300th.
So not too long ago. 40, this is 335, so 35 some weeks ago. But at the time we had you on, we were talking about Ghost Browser, and I'd said, hey, will you come back when you have a major upgrade? And you said yes, and so you have, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. We know you from that show, so 301, if you want to catch Larry on that. But we don't know Kat. She wasn't with us. She was stalking us in the chat room. And we had a good time talking to her that way. But Kat, welcome to Home Gadget Geeks. Great to have you on.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
That's good to have you. Hey, we know a little bit about Larry from the other show. Let's find out a little bit about you. So give us kind of your background, where you're from, those kinds of things.
Sure. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
That's right. Cleveland rocks.
Cleveland rocks.
And let's see. Yeah, I've lived in Colorado since about 2006. My background professionally, I used to be an art teacher, K through 12, which was great. Started to get sort of interested in technology and seeing what else I could do with my career when, unfortunately, some of the art programs were being phased out. Ended up getting a master's in interactive media from Elon University. Anybody who's interested in that, that's an amazing program. And then from there, just kind of fell into a couple of really interesting ad tech jobs. Met Larry, who asked me to work with him. It'll be 2 years. December 3rd will be my 2-year anniversary with Ghost Browser.
Very cool.
That's kind of the story of how I came to be with Ghost.
Hey, Home Gadget Geeks anniversary is December 4th. So we'll be 7. I always lose track. I think it's 7. We'll be 7 years doing Home Gadget Geeks. And Lopped in the chat room reminded me, if it was really going to be OG, the t-shirts, they would be Home Tech Podcast t-shirts, because 7 years ago we called the show Home Tech, not Home Gadget Geeks. We changed that name. Larry, I was just joking, but we let ladies go first. Let's for those folks that don't know you, let's get a little bit of your background again, since it's been a while.
Okay. Well, like Kat, actually, I started out in education and then sort of moved to tech because I wanted something that was a little more, that was going to support my travel habits. So, so I started with, a couple of small technology projects, hired a couple of agencies, realized that was all kind of a racket. So I tried to do, I did my own so I could do things kind of the right way. And then from there, it just kept growing, and I got into software, and now here we are.
Yeah, here you are with Ghost Browser. Give us a little, for those who maybe are joining new to Home Gadget Geeks and don't know what Ghost Browser is. Give us the 2-minute elevator pitch that you tell people when they go Ghost Browser. What's that pitch?
So Ghost Browser is designed to make people who work in the web more productive, essentially. The average browser is designed to honestly just make revenue off of your browsing habits and selling your browsing behavior to advertisers, whereas Ghost Browser is specifically designed to help you get more done in the browser, which is your workspace, essentially. So the biggest thing that Ghost Browser does for our users is help fight tab bloat. It's really all about preventing distractions and fighting tab bloat to help you keep deep work focus on whatever it is you're doing. So we're on our second iteration. Ghost Browser 2.0 just launched, and we've got some pretty cool new features that are productivity boosting in there. But the general idea is to give you the tools within a browser to help you organize your work, to help you be more productive.
So, Kat, if I'm a Chrome user, which a good chunk of the listeners are, that's just kind of where we've landed. On the surface, if I'm thinking about, okay, so I go to ghostbrowser.com, super easy. I'm going to give this thing a try. You kind of mentioned the cynical part of it, like, okay, someone's monitoring and selling your information, right? Which Google does just a little bit of. And we've all kind of accepted that. But experience-wise, if I'm going to go over to a new browser, don't I have a bunch of problems with plugins and all those things that I have to do new? And have you guys kind of solved and addressed some of those in Ghost Browser? How's that work for folks kind of coming off Chrome or coming off Firefox onto this browser?
Yeah, sure. So for the folks coming off of Chrome, Ghost Browser is built on the same core as Chrome, Chromium, right, which is the open source platform. And so we've built Ghost Browser on top of Chromium. And it essentially makes switching to Ghost Browser from Chrome totally seamless. You can be up and running with mimicking your Chrome experience in like less than 2 minutes, essentially. You can import all of your Chrome extensions automatically, bookmarks, all that stuff, and you're up and running. And since it's built on Chromium, the use and feel of the browser is pretty similar, which is nice. But yeah, I mean, that's the biggest hurdle to switching a browser, right? Essentially, you're going from, I have all of my work set up in this one space. I really don't want to set up all over again. And you don't have to. And so that's the nice thing. We've kind of eliminated that huge hurdle for a lot of people.
Yeah, before the show, I downloaded it, brought it back up again. And for me, LastPass is that key app, right? I got to have it working. So I was like, okay, let's just make sure this is, before I have you guys on, let's make sure this is working and be able to do that. So it actually remembered, I think it remembered from the previous version that I had, because there was a bunch of plugin identified, went up into the, and it's in the same spot it would be in Chrome. You go up, expect, right, click on the three dots, and there were some things there, and it was like, oh, LastPass was the last one listed. I clicked it, it was there, it worked, came on, I put my password in, boom, I was up and running. So as smooth as advertised. Are you on the new version? So when we think about 2.0, first of all, why did you need to go from a version 1 to a version 2, and what kind of things does it bring that you didn't have before?
Yeah, so the biggest difference between 1.0 and 2.0 is the sidebar. So for people, and let me just ask this kind of off the bat before I get too much further into this. If in the chat you could just kind of tell us who you are that's watching this. Are you someone who's used Ghost Browser before? Maybe are you a longtime user? Somebody who's heard of us but never used it? It would just be good to be able to sort of check in into the chat kind of as we're going to know who we're talking to.
Yeah, most of the, as I look at it, most of those are regulars.
Yeah.
Probably most of them are here when we had you guys on the last time. I'd almost be interested to know too, did anybody stay on it? We right. That's one of those. It's hard to get browser adoption, right?
Yes.
As you guys are finding out, it's probably difficult to get that done. There was some talk. I'm sure we have Chrome and Firefox users in our chat room. I'm interested in knowing, I full transparency.
Yeah.
I downloaded, I used it for a little bit, and then I didn't. I stopped. I was like, well, okay, I got busy. I'm in Chrome. And I think at even one point I took it off my system. I was doing some things here on the system.
Jim.
I'm just being honest.
We appreciate your honesty.
We do.
And because it's hard, browser adoption is hard, right? We get in these. I mean, Firefox is doing some amazing things with some of their newest version of Firefox. It's kind of rebuilt from the ground up, and there's some really cool stuff coming with it. And I thought about it for a second, and then I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna stay with Chrome. I like my Chrome browser type deal. What do you think? Let me ask this. So I'm in the browser. I'm stuck in the one I'm in now. What are some advantages? Let's talk a little bit. Why would I make a change over to you guys? When we had Larry on earlier, we really focused a lot on kind of the organization and the uncluttered kind of being able to kind of really focus on what you're doing. But Kat, I want to hear from you. Like, what would be the advantage to me to making a switch?
Yeah. So, I had started to say it before, but the biggest difference between 1.0 and 2.0 is a lot of the sort of productivity and organizational benefits that we had in 1.0. We've moved into a sidebar, which kind of hangs out in the left side of the browser, and you have the ability to expand it and collapse it as you need to. For people who are doing a lot of development work, they find it really handy to sort of leave that tray open and work in that sidebar there. But for the most part, for me, what really makes me love Ghost Browser as opposed to any other browser is the fact that I can set up dedicated workspaces. So I'll just give you an idea before Ghost and after Ghost. So before Ghost Browser, in my previous job when I was in ad tech, I had like Yahoo and Google and a bunch of social media sites opened to do QA work for those. I had my personal email and my work email. I had project management tools like Trello and just tons of different things open. And, I needed to have those systems open without having to like constantly open and close tabs. But like 20 minutes into the workday, I had like 60 tabs open. My computer was running super slow. I was getting constantly distracted by like little ping notifications in each of those websites that I had open. And it was just, it's like it's pulling your brain in 20 different directions at once. But the reality is that you need to be using these apps and these websites to work in the browser. And so what we have done with Ghost Browser is we've allowed you to set up these dedicated workspaces. And so now my workspaces are set up in a way that, I have sort of my general browsing task that I use for things that I need to check when I first set up in the morning, just, hey, how's this going? Check in on, our team, check in on our social media spaces and do a quick email check. But after that, I always jump into my tasks, which are, again, these dedicated workspaces where I have specific web pages open that I work in those web pages to tasks. Like if I'm doing content marketing or copywriting, I really want to be able to focus on those tasks. And if I have something that I need to switch to, it's really easy for me to switch. I can just click on my other task, like my general browsing task or my social media task, and it automatically pulls open all those tabs for me with just one click, as opposed to constantly like breaking down and setting up workspaces. They say, we had a social media manager who used Ghost Browser who said that her work days went from 10 hours to about 7.5 to 8 hours when she switched to Ghost Browser, simply because she didn't have to do the constant setup and breakdown switching took literally like a second when she was switching between different tasks that she had to do in her browser. So that just kind of gives you a general idea of the main, benefit of what Ghost Browser can do for you. It really lets you focus and eliminates the need to constantly set up and break down without having 60 tabs open.
Yeah, Larry, I think when you were on last, we talked really about for that kind of that sweet spot for your audience is kind of in that space of maybe a software developer or someone who's hardcore in the browser all day. Because there was some functionality too, if I remember correctly, of where you can have different sessions open up and break those sessions apart, right? In the browser, so that for me, like I have 7 Gmail accounts. Just don't ask me why, but I do, right? For work, for here. I mean, Home Gadget Geeks has 3 all by itself. And so there's, if for me, the frustration is signing in and out of those accounts all the time. So I'm assuming, am I Larry, am I correct in assuming, I mean, that's really the target audience, right? I'm sure there's others, but that's a big target audience for you guys?
I mean, that's part of it. I mean, I think I would describe our audience as people who want to be more productive, and that goes beyond just the features. So yeah, there are people who use Ghost Browser for very practical reasons, like I have 7 Gmail accounts, or I work for an agency and I have to manage 20 different client Twitter accounts, and I can log into all of those at the same time. And then I can put them all away, hide them in a task, and work somewhere else. It's a very practical reason to use Ghost Browser. But beneath the surface, there are, I mean, if you are truly focused on being more productive, it goes beyond just what's happening with your tabs. We have one of our bigger clients. We have a client that does support for educational software, and they said that they found at a time when they were transitioning a lot of the tools that they use to run their support teams, productivity had slowed and they were closing a lot fewer tickets. But they did an experiment for us, and the group that was using Ghost Browser versus the group that didn't was 7% more productive, simply because for psychological reasons. So because you can organize the tabs and that's great, but they said even more important than that 7% increase in productivity was the fact that they felt more comfortable handling more customers at one time. Mm-hmm. So if you're doing chat support and you're getting all frazzled, that's when you're going to slip up and tell one of your customers something that you're thinking rather than what the script says you should say, right? So it has effects that go beyond that. And just something as simple as tucking your Gmail accounts away in a different task when you're doing deep work. If you allow yourself to be distracted by email, I think it's 72 times per day is the average that people check their email. And every time you do that, it pulls you away from deep work that you're doing. There's a very popular University of California, Irvine study that was done that said that if you're in the middle of deep work and you get distracted, it takes you 23 minutes to get back into the flow, because it's kind of like REM sleep. You can't just say, okay, I'm REM sleeping now. You have to get into REM sleep by going through the process. So getting into a good, solid, concentrated workflow where you're doing deep work and getting hard stuff done, it's very similar to that. So anytime you have distractions going on like that. So there's, we can talk about features and functionality and this and that, but there's a big psychological component to this too. And I think that, really our sweet spot is people who get that, and people who want to be better at productivity, which isn't everybody.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and it takes, do you find with your user base, does it take a certain length of time? And Kat, maybe you can speak to this a little bit. For someone, I mean, with the Chrome browser, typically we start plugging in things and you go, right? You just do it. It's not really a tool that you need to think about very much, but you guys have intentional productivity pieces. I was just, while you were talking, speaking of being distracted, Larry, while you were talking, I was logging into 2 separate Google accounts. And so I can right click on the tabs and say, open a new session. And I opened 2 new sessions, by the way, color coded completely different, so I can tell those sessions apart. Then I logged in on one. Now, in a typical Chrome browser, once I'm logged into that one account, it's going to migrate across all tabs. So no matter what I do, this is super frustrating, by the way. with Google if you've got to do this, where then you're signing out, and then God, for whatever reason, do not go into Google Docs with signed into the wrong place, because you got to back all the way out to get those, and then come back in again to get it done. That, for me, that is probably the biggest use case, is to separate my Google accounts out. So when I'm working on those, I can see. But Kat, back to my original question, sorry to go off on that, but my original questions to you is, do you find the users, is there a ramp up to kind of figure this thing out, and kind of a learning curve associated with it?
Honestly, no, we haven't really found that. I mean, the biggest thing that we hear, when we hear back from users about usability and how easy it was to figure it out, is that it was easy. They say, oh, it was really intuitive. I read maybe like a 2-second article about how to use the browser and I figured it out. Or I watched, 10 seconds of your demo video and I already knew how to use the browser. And that's the whole idea about it. There are plugins that are meant to be multi-session handlers, right? There's a couple out there that let you do what you were just talking about, be logged into multiple Gmail accounts at once, or logged into multiple Twitter accounts, right? But they're not really all that intuitive. They force you to work in a plugin to do that same technology, whereas we've kind of baked that technology into the browser itself. And that's, the biggest feedback that we've gotten from users is it's really intuitive. I immediately knew how to use it, and which is great for us, because it cuts down on support. But, we really want to take that whole idea and sort of bake it into everything else that we do in the browser. Everything's native, everything's baked into the browser, and it doesn't really, again, you're not having to go into an extension to use these certain features. It's kind of just part of your workflow as you're using the browser.
I think.
Go ahead, Larry.
I was just going to say, I think the one thing that we've, I've had products before where I spend the first 5 to 6 months getting emails like, oh, how does this work? Or, and while I'm walking everybody through that person by person, we're trying to fix the onboarding experience, but we haven't really had that with Ghost. The one thing that started to come up is that we recently released an extension, and this is the only way that you can do this in a regular web browser, that allows you to assign a different proxy to each tab. So if you're doing web development for an international website and you need to see what it looks like in different countries, you can also assign a different IP to each tab or to each session. And some people are using that to buy, I think I'm saying this right, Yeezys. Which is
sneakers.
I think it's Kanye West's new sneaker or something. Word got around in some forum somewhere, and people are trying to use it to buy, to quote unquote cop Yeezys. So, which wasn't really why we built it, but so we're starting to get questions on how do I use proxies and things like that, things that are a little more complex that you can't do with other browsers. But for the most part, yeah, it's pretty much set up and go. And we reach out to people all the time and say, hey, do you need anything? And they're like, no, I'm good.
What's the browser? I mean, okay, so it's the two of you. How big is your team kind of doing?
About 10.
So 10, is there a big community when we think about browser development? Do you guys go to browser conferences, and what's the community like? I would think, Larry, last time we had you on, if I didn't say it, I should have. Kudos to you for going up against a Firefox or a Chrome, because Microsoft's messing it up right now, but those two seem to have it put together. Why make that? I mean, to me, that seems crazy to go up against two giants with a browser. And are there other people doing this as well, or are you guys out there, fighting them off?
Well, Kat actually talked me into it. So,
Kat, is that true?
It is. I mean, you can say, yeah, we're building a web browser, right? And the other big browsers in the space are browsers like Firefox and Chrome, and now there's other browsers like Vivaldi out there, right? Like boutique browsers, but nobody else is, and I'm just partial to what we're doing because I really believe in the browser, but nobody else is really doing what we're doing. Nobody else is really offering this. So yes, our competition is Chrome, but it's a totally different product with totally different use cases and different, user bases. So I'll just say that, and then Larry, go ahead and answer the question.
I cut you off. What were you going to say?
Oh, no, that's quite all right. I mean, here's the thing. What's the last major innovation that you've seen in a web browser? I feel like it's been very stale, and what Firefox has done with their recent release is they've increased the speed of your page load by a fraction of a second, which is wonderful. And you can see the speed difference when you download it. I downloaded it without any extensions at all, and you could tell that there was a difference. They have these meters showing them versus Chrome. Okay, that's great. They've improved their product, but where's the innovation? I'm not seeing a whole lot of that, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to get into it. Browsers have been used as a source of ad revenue by the big companies for a while, and just having used browsers every day for most of our professional lives, we knew that there was a way to do it better, and we don't have any we're not like these renegades that are taking on the big guys and we're going to take down Google. That's certainly not anything that's ever crossed our minds, but we think that there's a niche where there are people that want their browser to work for them, so I don't really see us as taking on Google. My dad's never going to use Ghost browser. And I mean, he has a hard enough time with Chrome. So
as well, they don't even know it's a browser. It's my
right.
mom. She doesn't even know she's in a browser. She doesn't care. Right. She knows how to get places, and that's it. But apparently, I mean, for you guys, there are people who do care and are as passionate, right? I mean, are you hearing from those customers? Is that something you hear from frequently? Like, oh man, I really love this. And I'm sure every time you make a change, you get back blast. Like, why did you change that? Right? Does that happen, Kat? You're smiling. Does that happen quite frequently?
All the time. And I'm laughing at what you just said earlier, that you opened the new version of the browser and you could see that the session colors were different, and that, to quote your words, I can actually tell them apart. Some of the response to the new colors has been really positive. Some has been really negative. Other people are like, what did you do with the ghost menu? I liked it there. Or, there's always going to be backlash to when you do something new. But, we have some really diehard users. My favorite example was, when we went to Web Summit in Portugal last year, we had some people who came up to us who were so excited to meet us because they love Ghost browser, and they were telling us, how helpful the browser had been to them and for their development work or their social media work or whatever it is. But I think what Larry was saying before kind of really hits the nail on the head. It's a niche product. And I think that's what's really happening in the browser space now, is that people are building niche browsers for specific use cases and for specific people. The people that we, want to build Ghost browser for are the people who work in the web in a dedicated way, right? And so what we want to do is design something for those people to help make their lives easier. I know that it makes my life easier. So yeah, I mean, we have diehard users who love what we're doing and are really excited about the innovation and are constantly tweeting and writing to us with new ideas and, hey, I've got to have this and can't wait till you guys come out with that. So it's definitely a niche product. But yeah, I think what Larry said also really, rings true for me. There's been a lot of innovation in the browser space related to what's good for them for revenue, but not really what's good for the user.
Yeah, you guys have mentioned that a couple times. So either one of you handle this. When we think of the money that's being made off of us in the browser, how big of a problem really is that? And how are you guys? I mean, is it completely? Are you not tracking anything? So maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, in terms of how big of a problem is that, that's not something that we can answer. That's something that everybody answers for themselves, because I personally, I love when if I found a tool that I want to use and I go off and do something else, and then I get remarketed an ad for that tool. I'm like, that's right, that was the name of it, because there are so many tools, we're running out of names at this point, right? Yeah. So it's hard to remember them. So I don't mind that. There are some people who are, they're kind of having their day now, because they've been talking for years about how the government is tracking them, and about how easy it is for people to access personal information about us. And people wrote them off as being crazy conspiracy theorists for so long. And now, this is a more common kind of way of thinking. And I think it's fair. But I think that everybody has their own threshold. I'm not doing anything that I really care if anybody knows about it. And that's not to say that people who care about privacy are. But, I think, people just have different thresholds for that. So, really that's kind of a personal thing. I mean, if you really, really want to be secret, don't use Ghost Browser, use Tor, because they send all of your internet connection gets spread out across an entire network of multiple nodes. So
the Tor browser is what you're referring to,
the
right?
Tor browser, right?
Yeah.
TOR. I mean, that was designed specifically for privacy. We, as far as tracking, we track feature usage. We do not track any content. So what we collect is numbers, but not content. So we might know that a user, or that our users average X number of tasks in their browser at a time, but we don't know the name of the tasks. We don't know the URLs that you visited in that task. We don't track any browsing history at all, because that's not our thing, and we've had people try to talk us into packaging data and selling it, but that's not the kind of business that I want to run, and I wouldn't know how to run it anyway. So, but shaving time off of the tasks that you do, it's
really kind of a project management browser, right? Kat, you're shaking your head. Yes. Am I categorizing it correctly for folks that are doing a lot of project management, or those kinds of tasks? You've built some tools in there that help with that?
Sure. But I wouldn't necessarily narrow it down to one specific role, right? Like project manager. I would say it's kind of a project management browser for tons of different job titles, right? Like SEOs or web developers, social media managers, sales teams, marketers, whatever it is. I mean, it's just really a way to help you. I don't know how you feel about swearing on the podcast, but we like to say get more done,
yeah.
Right? So but yeah, I mean, that's essentially the idea, is that all these apps are vying for your attention, and it's so easy to just open up 60 tabs and be scatterbrained. And we're just really trying to give people a way to organize their thoughts and their work, right? Like imagine project management before Trello. People used to manage projects via email, which is just crazy, and they would hack other systems. And then, project management systems like Basecamp and Trello came along to help you organize your work so that you could be more productive and get more things done. And that's kind of the idea behind what we're doing. It doesn't matter what vertical you're in, right? It just matters how you use the system to make yourself more productive, essentially.
Lopta's asking out in the chat room, this is a really common problem. We run into this at Gallup too, with people who have visual impairments. And anytime you start adding colors in, right, you run this whole gamut. Have you guys thought through that in the newest versions? And are those colors the right way so that folks with visual impairments can see them correctly?
I think that to solve the accessibility issue, and this is something that we're sad to report that we're behind on, but I think that to solve the accessibility issue with colors, we really need to move to patterns, and it's extremely challenging. It's an extremely challenging thing to come up with 15 different patterns, and then which really means, because you can have 15 different sessions per task, and then you need actually 30, because then you have to show the difference between the active tab and the inactive tab. So the tab colors is one of those things that seems so simple, and I cannot tell you how much time we have spent on it, but yeah, unfortunately, no, we're a little bit behind in accessibility, and that's just a function of the bootstrap nature of what we're doing, and we're trying to validate that we can actually maintain 10 employees at once and get people to pay for a product that Google offers for free.
Right. Well, let's talk about that, because Larry, you're honestly, like most people think of a free browser.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, so now you're in this space. How are you guys, I'm assuming, you go on the site, if you go to the pricing page, there's a monthly and an annual subscription available for this. There is a free version, but are you getting people to convert to the paid version for the additional functionality? I mean, you got to be at some point to be able to support that. How's that going so far?
Larry, I'll toss that one over to you.
Okay.
Give him the hard money question, Kat. I see how it goes.
Let's go. It's going well. So I think the best indication of that, you know, and it's definitely been a long road. But you know, we realized the other day, since we launched 2.0 in beta the other day, and to a very limited number of people. I think we only had like 500 people or something like that sign up. Is that right?
No,
And
it was more like 1,200.
oh, 1,200. Okay. Very small number of people that signed up for it. And when you signed up for it, you got, you know, we always start you with a 1-month trial, but we figured 2.0, let's give everybody another month-long trial. So people downloaded it, got the trial, and didn't even wait the month. They just started giving us the money for it. So I was like, wow, okay, this, you know, this is the first, and we've had people pay for it. You know, we have clients that have over 50 licenses for their company. We've got a bunch in the 5 to 10 license range. And, you know, and we've got a lot of individuals, but people started, you know, foregoing the trial and just saying, here, essentially take my money. And so, you know, I think we've finally hit on something with 2.0. It's so much easier to use because the limitations before with the Ghost menu, you couldn't drag and drop. It was hard to organize. You had to go up and get it and drop the menu down before you could actually do anything with it. But now it's just sitting right there in a sidebar, very easily accessible. So I think that's sort of made a bit of a difference.
So visually speaking, or audibly speaking, since it's a lot of folks will listen to this and not see the video, $15 monthly, if you pay $10 a month if you pay on an annual plan. I love as you guys go down on the $10 annual plan, at the very bottom it says you'll be our favorite. So everybody wants to be the favorite on that. Are you? So it sounds to it does sound like to me. I mean, you're right in this. You're in a really kind of in a sweet spot, especially for a tool. When we think about kind of pricing, not everybody's going to pay for these things, but those who do recognize the value in it, it sounds like are making their way over. Do you find the annual plan is more popular, or are you finding people are jumping in on the monthly one?
I think it used to be the annual until recently. I think, and by recently, I mean since the launch of 2.0, because I think some people are just getting introduced to it. I think what we saw a lot before is people would sign up for a month and then they would be like, yeah, okay, I'll do this. And then they jump on for the year. What we're not seeing is a whole lot of cancellations. The only time we see subscriptions being canceled is when people are upgrading to the annual plan. And which is great because churn is one of the biggest problems for recurring revenue businesses. But, you know, and I'm not going to say that not anybody's canceled. We've had some people cancel, but I think once people, I think that once we get that, you know, that product market fit going on, people stay on.
If I'm an enterprise and I've got a bunch of folks I want to put on this, what's the right way to go about contacting you guys so that can be discussed?
At the bottom of the pricing page, there's an enterprise link. Where, you know, we do have a few enterprise customers now. It's not something that we've been pushing because I think that when you get into enterprise, you're talking about security, sharing, sync, things like that. And we're not there. We're not quite there with those features yet. That's going to be like a Q1 kind of thing. So, you know, right now we're welcoming enterprise customers with open arms. And we even have a special link for you. But you know, right now in terms of marketing, our focus is on individuals who will use it, fall in love with it, and help us spread the word about it. And then, you know, that'll help get us to the point where we can build in those enterprise features that are so important. Because if we had a bunch of enterprise customers right now, we wouldn't be ready for them anyway.
Oh, it's good.
You know,
good to know. Yeah, I mean, good to know where you're at.
In terms of sync and sharing, and you know, I mean, that's what enterprise is. When you upgrade to an enterprise level of any SaaS software, right? looking at the ability to work as a team. And right now it's great for on your computer, but you know, task
Well, the
sharing,
expectation
that is for
level,
later.
the expectation level ramps up. I mean, it's a whole different world, and the expectations change. And I mean, you know, you still have fairly, I mean, even individual users are very demanding. And trust me, from a guy who runs a podcast that's free, that, you know, I still hear from the listeners. Although I got the best audience in the world, I'm not going to lie. I sometimes say this, but they don't do it very much. They're a great audience. They come out here on Thursday nights and hang out with us. By the way, I think one of your users is out there right now. Todd Casey jumped in, says he's been using Ghost Browser for months and he loves it.
Oh, awesome! Hi, Todd.
Hi, Todd. Thank you.
Todd, interested in what you like best about it there in the chat room, but. Any other, when we think about features, I kind of went right to pricing, but what else, anything you guys want to talk about when we think about what that, you know, that you're excited in 2.0 that maybe we haven't talked about yet?
Excited in 2.0 right now, no, but what we're excited about is the possibilities that 2.0 brings, because the sidebar is basically HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That wasn't the case with the old Ghost menu. So now we can do, it's basically a blank canvas waiting for us to do awesome things with it. So, you know, we have coming down. So one of the things that drives me nuts is having different tools all over the place, you know, and extensions help solve that to some extent, because you know, there are so many of them that do anything from mining cryptocurrency to you know, to organizing your to-dos for the day. But the concept of extensions, the concept of this 16 by 16 icon that sits up in a tray in the upper right hand side of your browser that you have to click, navigate through, and then engage the features and somehow get that to work with your web browser doesn't make a whole lot of sense to us. So you know, so we want to start integrating more common tools, things like screenshots and screencasts, into the browser so that it's an automatic thing. You don't need an extension for it. You right click and draw something, right? And note taking, being able to annotate the web for people that do content marketing, or for bloggers who do a lot of web research, being able to take notes on the things that they're doing is really important. So the sidebar gives us the ability to do all of these things that we've been salivating over wanting to do for the past year and a half. So that's really what, I mean, what's there now is great, but it's really just the beginning.
Cool. Kat, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say, you know, Larry mentioned from an enterprise level, sync is one of our highest requested features, and it's definitely not an easy problem to solve, but it's, you know, something that we'd really like to work on. So sync is something that I'm really looking forward to. Again, I can't say when that will be available, but it's on the horizon. And then, you know, something else we've been talking about is opening up an API for developers, for people to create their own themes or their own integrations for the browser as well. You know, we've had a lot of people, one of the most commonly requested features that we heard early on was, you know, I want to develop my own themes for Ghost Browser, which I never really realized how popular that was, because it's not something that I was into. But then the more I looked into it, I was like, wow, the Chrome theme store is just crazy. So yeah, that's something that, you know, a lot of people have requested, and opening up an API would open the door for that and so many other things. So those two things are something that I'm really looking forward to.
Does it have a dark and light theme switch? That seems really important for developers.
you know, you're absolutely right. Like, you see that all over, and again, it's kind of like privacy. I just go with whatever's there, but dark themes are very important. And I don't, can anybody out there tell me why that is? Because I'm asking seriously.
Oh, I think it's a light sensitivity deal.
Yeah, when you're staring at a screen all day.
Is it based on working at night, or is it just simply,
or darker rooms?
Yeah.
Or darker rooms.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just one of those. Yeah, and you know, I have seen that more and more. As well, we're going to talk about cryptocurrency here in just a second, but in some of the new crypto tools that are out there, they all have a switch, and it's just a little moon. You know, you just click on it, and everything goes dark.
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's something that I'm sure Jeff is. So our lead designer is going to probably jump at the chance to do that because he's very in tune with design things like that, right? So so I think hopefully he can help guide us through that process, because I'm not the right guy for it. Everything on my computer right now is bright white, so
It's just something I've been thinking
Yeah.
more about. You know, you go in there, I'm like, what's that moon? And you click it and it flips over to dark mode. And so that's pretty cool. We mentioned cryptocurrency, and early in the pre-show we were talking, you brought that up, and you know, with a paid model, you know, you get an opportunity to maybe do some things. When we think about, you know, browser mining now, it's becoming fairly, I don't want to say becoming popular. Some people are doing it incorrectly, where you go to the web page, you start browsing, or you mean you start mining for them, no disclosure, you know, no warning. Some sites, JSE Coin is the one I've been looking at, actually will put a footer. You can put the little JavaScript code on your site, and it'll put a little footer at the bottom. It says, hey, you're mining cryptocurrency right now. You know, do you want to keep doing this, or, you know, dismiss it type deal? That intrigued me, because certainly you might be in a place where in lieu of a subscription, so to speak, you could allow folks to mine, you know, to turn a miner on in the browser. Has that become a consideration at all, or is that too far out for what you guys are kind of doing from a
you know, I wouldn't say that it's too far out. I think that the problem that we have with that, and I did have that notion the other day. I think I came across a software program where that was how it worked. You could either do the free version and donate a portion of your processing resources, or you could pay. And for me, that's great, because we would like to be able to get the browser into as many people's hands as we can. We also have to monetize it, and we're not going to do that with ads, so or with tracking. So we do need to monetize it somehow, and to have 1 million free customers and, you know, however many thousands of paid customers would be a problem in a whole problem in and of itself. So you know, we've got to keep, at least for now, we've got to sort of keep wraps on that. But yeah, cryptocurrency mining in exchange instead of money is great for our model, because we have so many people who are in foreign countries where the standard of living is simply different. And when they say, you know, when I have said in the past, oh, I can't afford that, it means that I'm choosing not to spend my money on that. I can afford it, probably, maybe, but I'm going to make other choices instead. But with some of the people that are using our browser, literally $10 is a lot of money for even on a monthly basis. So, and I've lived in places like that. So I'm definitely empathetic to it. So that would be a great model. And it's, you know, it's something that it came across. I had this thought popped into my head when I saw this other software product. And then when you mentioned it in the pre-show, I was like, okay, yeah, you know, maybe. But for us, there's a knowledge gap. We need to find somebody who can help us do that, because I'm not the guy for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's super interesting. You know, we're going to talk about it more on here on Home Gadget Geeks in 2018, because it's become such a big deal. But it is this in browser mining. I am, you know, right now on my Android phone, which is sitting in front of me, I am actually mining some Monero coin, which it's a mobile processor. Like, it would take 100 years to mine anything that has any value, right? It's just,
yeah.
But it's amazing that what the blockchain has brought to this idea of using mobile devices, or using browsers, or using this JSE coin that we were talking about. Actually, you can go to their website, and they have set up a in-browser demo you can sign up for, and you can just start mining right there. That's actually a very, very low, I think it's a very, very low entry point to try it. It takes very little resources. Now, you're not, if you go to platform.jsecoin, by the way, for those listening, .com, is the you just sign up for an account, you go to the mining section and just click browser mining. It'll start doing it for you. It mines their coin. But what's interesting is we're getting lower and lower power options. And Larry, I think for you, we're getting, and Kat for you too, we're getting some distributed options, which for you guys with thousands or tens of thousands, all of a sudden makes a difference. I mentioned this a second ago in the news. There have been folks who have done it without, they're not doing it and disclosing. That's the wrong way to go about it. But that could be a potential source there. And interesting, Kat, you're shaking your head. No way.
Oh, I mean, Larry's really the guy that drives the ship on that stuff. That just, we're all about transparency, and that definitely doesn't sound like something that I want to get involved with.
Well, so for you guys, the good news is you could be full transparency and say, hey, you're helping us, and this is the trade-off, right? And so,
yeah, that would. I mean, it's interesting, and obviously that's not something that we would do below board. But there are, and I'll just say this now too. I mean, I've been reading a lot, and this is not based on any research that our developers have done or anything like that. But there are Chrome extensions out there as well that are doing mining. I've been reading a little bit about this around and not disclosing it, and somehow they're getting through the Chrome store. And I'm sure Google's responding when reports are made, but they're sort of facing a little bit of a crisis in extension quality. There's a lot of crap getting into the store, and these mining extensions are among them. So beware out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. It is even just landing on a site. In this world of cryptocurrency is a little scary. I was browsing or doing I've been looking at these different storage coin options and just kind of trying to understand this world that's out there. And sure enough, I hit a site, I came off a link, and I got that audible voice that came on. It says something, your PC has been compromised. You call this 800 number and we will help you fix it. And of course that's a big scam. So that world is it's right today. It's gotten so popular. It's living in this half light, half dark web. And I'm not going to lie, I find it very intriguing. It's one of those little dangerous things that you
make the jump, Jim. Make the jump.
Kind of cool. Well, it's funny. I was going back and listening to some of the episodes we've done with Edward from Alpha Bitcoin. And I was real hesitant up until just a couple months ago. I really held off. It's like, I don't know about this stuff. But lately I have been, I've been more inclined. I've bought a bunch of video cards and such. So anyways, that sounds interesting for you guys. However that pans out, that could be, as you think about that could be for those kinds of countries where, maybe they can't afford the subscription plan, but they can trade some browser time, or they can trade some cycles to help for that. That sounds pretty cool. What do you we're coming up on the hour here, but any other exciting things as you look that you want to promote ahead? You mentioned a few, but anything else that we might have missed?
Well, I think we talked a little bit about features and functionality, but I also think that on a philosophical level, we're still sticking to our guns with productivity, and that's something that we really products. I don't know if you've ever tried implementing a productivity system into your life. There's one that I tried for a while. It was called the 6 a.m. Miracle, and it was awesome. I woke up at 6 o'clock every day. The first thing I did was drink a big glass of water, and then I would exercise for at least 20 minutes, usually about 30, 40. And I've never been a morning exerciser, and I cannot tell you how much I got done work-wise after I did that. But then, we have our development teams all over the world. So systems like that fall apart, right? They fall apart easily. So, I kind of feel like that's the job of productivity tools to implement those systems for you. So we're starting to look at some ways that we can do that by helping you track your productivity, keep track of the number of tasks that you finish, how much time you spend on distracting websites, sort of give you a score so that you have something to shoot for. And for the people that are into productivity, that's that's something that we hope will keep people motivated and hopefully create a little bit of addiction for Ghost
Yeah.
browser too.
Well, I think you're onto something. These data points. I was a Microsoft Band user I went through 2 bands, and now I'm on a Fitbit. I just got a Fitbit Alta. That's there. No heart rate one, but it's the Alta, and they generate tons of data, right? And it's connecting to my phone. And now what am I doing? I'm on my phone checking, like today after the workout. I was like, okay, how many steps, and it is helpful during my workout today. My goal is to finish every workout at that 10,000 steps level,
Okay.
right? So I was at 7,000 steps after I got done. I'm like, well, I better get on the treadmill and walk some to get these 10,000 in, because that's what I committed to. If you don't have that measurement, you don't know, right? And typically I just would have been like, okay, I'm done with my workout, I'm done. But it added that extra kind of thing to it. I think that would be great to be able to track my productivity, but maybe even gamify it in some ways, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Gamification is the key, right? That's making it fun for people to, instead of saying, oh, I'm going to check my Vine video views every 5 minutes, right? At the end of the day, or when you complete a task, I shaved this many minutes off of my work day, or this many, hundreds of hours off of my work month or year, whatever it is.
Yeah. I just like somebody to tell me how many stupid emails I'm processing in a day. People ask me that all the time, and I'm like, you know what? I have no idea. But
there's actually an extension for that. It's called Mail Tag. I just heard about it recently. They give you data on your Gmail usage.
There's a book for it too, and I'm just going to recommend this real quick because it's a quick read. I read it in one afternoon. It's called Unsubscribe by Jocelyn K. Glee, or Glei. I think it's Glei. Really quick read, and oh my God, it just tells you so many things about how email controls your life. It's actually kind of scary. You think Google watching over you is scary? People controlling your life with email is even worse. So pick it up. Unsubscribe, Jocelyn K. Glei.
There's a comedian I kind of got sucked into on YouTube who talks about how he has been interacting, and I wish I remember his name. I could probably look it up here real quick. But how he talks about how he responds to these email spam or these scammers, and how he engages them. And the stories are super funny.
Guilty.
Are you? Well, and then he said, "Hey, you can thank me. I'm doing you all a favor. I've tied them up while they're interacting with me." And he's got a couple TED Talks that he's done. But yeah, it is. My primary email account, my Yahoo account that I've had forever, is just full of spam, and I really only process it once a day. So I don't look at it throughout the day. I get home. I've got I bring it into Windows Mail, which is super efficient at processing because I can literally just go delete, right? Yeah. And I look at them. I scan down a couple to make sure I'm not missing anything, but I can process that email in, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And there's not much in there that I really need to work on. But every once in a while, something shows up there that I do need to pay attention to. But that's one of those things. My gosh, yeah, you're right. The email, and I do feel that obligation to answer it right away when it comes in during the workday. You get the toast notification, right? Pops out, and you're like, and I use Outlook, so that's even worse. And you just, I got to answer it right now. Which, when we talked the last time, Larry, that's not the best way to get into deep work, right?
Right. I mean, it's not. Yeah, I'm looking right now at my. I have 166,973 emails in one Gmail account, and then I've got over 192,000 in the other one. I'm one of those people that believes that inbox zero is actually a waste of time, because how long does it take you to delete those emails when you could just skim them and skip them?
Yep. No, right on. And one of I only delete them on this one account because that's my skimming method. To the delete brings it to the top. So delete. You just kind of watch.
In Outlook, it's a lot easier. It's easier. In Gmail, it's not.
Works a little different. I do need to do more than skim. Everything that comes in, super important. And I've tried to get into a batch process, and I'm just not very good at it. I'm kind of a firefighter and not a farmer. I'm better kind of moving, stick and move. And then if I've got to get really deep work going or something I need to concentrate on, I just go to another room. I can't even, my office is too distracting. So I'll go to a room where there's less distractions. Or I'm finding sometimes for me out in the middle of public, like I'll go down and sit in our atrium, and being in public forces me to focus.
Interesting.
And for me, that's just not everybody can do that, but it works that way for me. Do you find, Kat, do you get contacted from productivity junkies that are like just crazy about this stuff? Do you hear from them?
Larry would be maybe the one to speak to that a little bit better. He is himself a productivity junkie.
Okay.
Just being around him has made me realize, gosh, I waste so many hours doing this or that. And, I am a recovering inbox zero person myself. But yeah, we get people who say things like, oh, this is so great, but if it could just do this, it would shave another couple seconds off of that. I mean, people are literally, and we believe in that, right? Shaving seconds off, shaves minutes off, shaves hours and weeks, when it all adds up, and it does add up, right? Like if you, just thinking about the amount of time spent logging in and out. But yeah, we get people contacting us constantly. Have you heard of this? Do you integrate with that? Can you do this? It'll just shave off a couple more seconds. But yeah, I mean, people who are productivity junkies are really into tools to help them be more productive, right? You sort of admit that you're powerless against all of the distraction, and allow yourself to use these tools to kind of be more focused. So we love those people, and I'm constantly learning from those people. Larry being one of those people himself. He's the productivity junkie numero uno.
Yeah. Well,
and also a big pain in her butt.
It's you can, Larry, you can be annoying. I'm gonna tell you. Just kidding. It's I get, we've been thinking about this cryptocurrency stuff. You can run these miners, and so I have this weird, I want to tune them all up to maximum productivity,
Right.
And so I'm not very good at tuning my own productivity, but when it's the computer doing the work
for other stuff.
Yeah. How can I get just one more 0.1 hash per second?
Yeah.
What can I do, or what's optimum, or what's making the most money at this time? And I get it. It from the.
That's the whole idea that Ghost Browser was built on, right? There's got to be a better way to do this. There has to be software out there that could do this work for me. So that's.
You're kind of getting me hooked, Jim. You're getting me hooked a little bit.
Well, Larry, we can talk a little bit about this offline, and you go in. Listen, I'm going to tell you, I've already turned some guys to the dark side, and they're super pissed at me for it. So, let's be careful, because it is a little addicting going in.
I'm coming for you if our life savings go all into cryptocurrency, Jim.
It's not my problem, Kat. I'm just saying.
You are right down the road.
Yes, I'm not too far from you guys. Well. Hey, I'm going to throw out a community challenge. I think you guys have convinced me. It takes me, like with cryptocurrency, I admit it took me 3 shows, right? This is the 2nd show. I think in the month of December, since tomorrow is the first day, right? Or is it tomorrow, or is it the next day? 31 days? Okay, tomorrow is December 1st. I'm going to take the Ghost Browser December challenge. I just made that up. Ghost Browser December challenge. I'm going to try starting tomorrow. I'm going to keep Chrome closed. And I'm going to try to use Ghost the whole month on my PC here. Can't do it at work because they won't, have those kinds of things. But here in the studios, I can do that, and I'll work with it, give you guys some feedback. I'd love it if those listening in the community as well would do that challenge with me. You could tweet to me. We can do some questions along those lines. I probably won't learn it in the whole month of all the things it can do, but I think I'll give it that challenge. I almost imported the tags, and then it was just like, hey, we're gonna have to shut down your Chrome browser to import or something like that. And I was like, no, don't do that. But we'll get those imported, and we'll give it a try. How's that sound? We'll give it the December challenge. So if you want to get out there, it's from a sign up standpoint, should I just sign up for the free? Is that what I should do? Open the browser, sign up for the free account for a month or 2 months, and run it that way? Is that the right way to do it?
Yep.
Yeah. Even though you've been used it before, so you were given a free trial then. But even if people have used Ghost Browser before with a free trial, if you download the new 2.0 version, your free trial starts over. So you'll be on it for a month free.
And 2.0 is what, if I just go to the website, it's going to automatically give me
Yeah,
2.0.
just follow the main download link.
Okay. Yeah, let's give it a shot. So if you're listening and you're willing to do this with me, would love to dialogue with you on Twitter about it. I actually tweeted during the middle of the show that I was tweeted from. I've got an instance of it up that I just brought up, and jumped into Twitter, signed on using LastPass. I have to authenticate because I have 2-factor authentication, so I had to get authenticated.
Good
Actually,
move.
it worked while I was doing the show, so it's not that hard. And then and gave you guys a little tweet out there. So would love to dialogue a little bit about it. And then I might be pinging you guys for some productivity tips. Just
Yeah,
hey,
let us know how it goes. We'd love to hear your feedback.
Using this thing right as I check my Fitbit account every 20 minutes. Now, how many more steps? How many more steps?
We'll work on a Fitbit integration for the browser too. Just to, you can do a treadmill desk.
Yeah, well,
what we can do about that.
Getting super popular. We built a floor, all stand-up desks, and Gallup has 2 desks available. You can just walk over to, jump on, and start using. I've used those from time to time.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to especially if in a day when I know I'm not going to get to the fitness center. Yeah. It's like, well, okay, maybe I can do email. Maybe I can check email and that's an easy thing to do while you're on the treadmill. Hey, before we go, what about mobile? Have you been thinking? I mean, we've been talking kind of desktop, or at least alluding to it. Any thoughts on the mobile side?
Go ahead, Kat.
Well, I was just going to say, we don't have any immediate plans for the future to do a mobile browser, but it's something that we get asked about a lot, especially from QA engineers who love the browser for QA. Those people are especially interested in a mobile version of the browser. But yeah, it's not currently in the plan, but we get that request a lot. So it's something that we've been talking about.
A first step to that would be, I think one of the most annoying things is that if you use Ghost Browser all the time, like I do, when I go on my phone and I'm in Chrome or some other browser that Twitter puts out for me, I don't have all of my passwords saved. That's the annoying thing. So at the very least, we want to have some sort of glue that will help your data help your Ghost Browser data talk to your mobile browser so that you can at least get your saved search history and stuff like that if you want it. But it's, Ghost is a browser that you use in the web, when you're working in the web. So,
it's a productivity browser. Yeah. The mobile space doesn't, but I think we're moving in that direction, by the way. I think there's going to be a day when I take my phone and I plug it in at work and my monitors are powered.
Yeah.
And I probably would be the perfect candidate for a mobile kind of desktop system, so to speak. That because I don't use the power at work. Now here in the studio, completely different. Like there are applications I have to use Audacity and some of the Adobe product, and some of the things that we do. I gotta have those. That functionality has to work. So cool. Anything else, Larry?
Well, I was just thinking it'd be great if you didn't even need the mobile phone, if you could just walk in and there's a station there that recognizes your voice and then everything that you need is right there.
Yeah. Well, that's the sharing. We'd have to get sharing better. And I think we're getting there. Windows has been notoriously bad at profiles. I think we're finally getting, now the Microsoft Graph is coming with some promises of being able to share that information no matter where I'm at. And that would replace profiles in some form or fashion, but it's still clunky and it still doesn't really work very well. And so I think we've got a ways to go. What about folks that are using Linux OS? Have you thought about browsers in that space as well?
We have, yeah. That's gonna get on the radar real soon. We were gonna do that about this time last year, and our developers who are Linux users actually talked us out of it because they basically said we need to, Linux is a little bit more of a sort of free philosophy. So, but it's also a lot more support, and to be able to support the various flavors of Linux, even just supporting one is a lot more difficult than just supporting Mac or Windows. So it would be taking on a lot of complication for potentially a user base that wouldn't be helping us move the business forward. So, but we, that's probably the most common request we get. And
I bet it is.
I hate saying no all the time. And, you know, two of our developers can't even use Ghost because they're web developers, not the browser developers.
Right.
They're of course on all systems, but you know, we have two guys that are Linux guys, and they have to, you know, run a VM just to do testing on the browser. So
yeah, well, it's good to hear. Good to hear you're thinking about that. That came up in our
Yeah.
chat room. So good to hear that you're thinking about it. So, well, Kat, Larry, thank you for taking the hour to be a little over. Sorry, I kept you a little bit over, but thanks for coming on and kind of catching us up with Ghost Browser. Good to hear from you guys. This is for me. This is a fun because I don't think there's not a lot of podcasts talking about this, and so for me, I think this is a really cool topic. When we think about desktop and desktop productivity, a lot of my listeners live in this space.
Okay.
And so I just think it's a cool topic. Yeah, it's not a gadget, you know, but
it's not a gadget software.
I love it. It's a different, it's a way to buy your gadgets. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, there you go. And we definitely appreciate you having us on again. It's always good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. Kat, thank you for how'd it feel to do your first home Gadget Geeks here?
It was a blast.
Okay? We did okay. You did a great job. It's nice to have a lady on the program. Let's just put it that way. We don't
doesn't
always,
happen too often.
not as often as I'd like. Let's just put it that way. I wish we could get more ladies. Over the last couple years, actually, it's gotten a lot better. Some of those early days, it was just a sausage fest, and so it's good to have the ladies on as well. And so, Kat, thanks for taking the time tonight to do it. I appreciate it. I'll remind everyone, don't forget, let's just try as a community. Let's try this December Ghost Browser Challenge. So get out there, download it, activate that free trial. Let's get going. Let's try and use the month of December. And I'm sure you guys would appreciate your feedback just at Ghost Browser on Twitter. I'm sure you guys can do you guys have a support Twitter account, or do you just do everything through the Ghost Browser?
No, it's just a single Ghost Browser Twitter, and it's actually at Ghost_Browser.
Oh, there you go. Thank you for fixing that for me.
Sure.
But you'll take support or questions through that as well?
Absolutely. Sure. We have support on the website, but if you want to ping us on Twitter, we're happy to answer your questions there too.
Okay, sounds good. We'll try this December challenge. Maybe you'll get a few feature requests that you hadn't thought of. Would be
great. We love those.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's Christmas time, guys. You'll have some extra time. I'm just saying. For those listening right now, you'll probably have a few extra moments during the Christmas time. So jump in there and let's get this going. I'll also remind folks, if you want to support Home Gadget Geeks financially, I'm not going to lie, I did test out JSE as an option, thinking maybe it's for you guys. You know, we were thinking about a subscription option. I was also thinking, we have this Patreon account and people can give $1 or $3 or $5, right? And we've got, I don't know, 20 or 25 folks that give to the show, and it helps kind of keep the lights on, pay the bills, those kinds of things. But I almost thought about, and I'm still thinking about, setting up a dedicated site that just has the code on it. And I'm like, hey, if you want to support the show, I'm being very transparent. I'm not trying to fake you out or fool you. Open the browser and just let it run. And that, that by itself would generate JSE coin, which could be then, converted into whatever. So I've thought about it too. So I'm not saying, it was kind of like, and I still might do it. Take feedback on that from listeners. If you would be willing, if you're listening to this right now and you would be willing to do something like that, if you're interested in helping me test it or something like that, I'd be interested in giving it a try. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, or shoot me a note over on Twitter @jcollison, and we can talk about it. Larry, maybe we can try that out on me first, and then you can kind of see how well it works.
We could help each other test that out. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's maybe an idea. I'll also remind you that the averageguy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. Speaking of Maple Grove, so Christian and I just did a Cyber Frontiers that went out last Tuesday. Yeah. So if you've given up on the Cyber Frontiers feed, there's a new one out there, 40. So 40 is out there for you. And Christian Kevin Schoonover did that one. If you want to pop out there, that get that feed going again. But of course, Maple Grove Partners supplies secure, reliable, high-speed hosting for us here. And if you want to know, they've got plans as little as $10 a month. That'll get you both media and web hosting. MapleGrovePartners.com. Don't forget to download the app. Give it a try if you are on the road. Best way to listen to Home Gadget Geeks. We'll thank LastPass for their sponsorship of that as well. And super free. can't be any freer than free. It's available to you. LastPass pays for that. Head out to homegadgetgeeks.com, and those app buttons, big fat buttons, are right there for you. Don't forget the t-shirts. HomeGadget or the averageguy.tv/shirt will get you there as well. And then hopefully we'll do a newsletter coming up here. Head out to theaverageguy.tv/newsletter and get signed up for it. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. Other Jim, by the way, said no coins, no way in the chat room. So
to you or to me?
I think to me is what he's saying out there in the chat room. He said, what would Christian think? I actually think Christian would be behind it. We'll talk about this in the post show. 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out at theaverageguy.tv/live. With that, we'll say goodnight, everybody.